Hello, my HD friends. Let me log in to the actual Google account. The correct views runs pretty much solo these days. I am going to go ahead and light this up, and then we're going to start with a little bit of fun. And by a little bit of fun, I mean we're going to do something like this. Am I live yet? Let's wait till I'm live. Good, I'm live. Hey Google, I got something for you. I want you to hear this, Google. I want you to hear this loud and proud. Hep, hep, hep. Friends, you are listening to The Correct Views. Sam I.B. reporting for The Media Speaks. Longtime listeners will know that my band, Passing Time, the cover of New World Order, used to be our theme song. Do you know the other day I made a live video and gave it to a judge? And I always film my exchanges and my recordings on video so that nobody can say that I threatened or said something I didn't say. Am I saying that the judge would have done that? No, I'm not saying he would have. But in case he would have, I recorded the conversation and I set it up for monetize on themediaspeaks.com. You want to know what they did? They told me that I couldn't monetize the video because there was copywritten music in the background. YouTube, let me ask you something. Do I look like the kind of person you want to piss with? If I do, then I'll change my hair color. Meanwhile, here's some copywritten ministry, New World Order. Do you hear it? That's what I think of your rules, you filthy bastards. Alright friends, it is The Correct Views and we are going to go on to the news now that my little revenge rant is over. Paul Joseph Watson, PrisonPlanet.com, BLM feds assault more protesters as First Amendment area taken down. I know I started off the show somewhat jovial and a little bit vengeful, but this is important. Have you guys followed this? The BLM has literally gone to a Nevada cattle rancher's house. His farm, ranch, whatever you want to call it, and told him that his cattle cannot freely graze on his own land because they may trample an endangered species known as the desert tortoise. Clone the damn tortoise! Before I get a bunch of hate mail in my comment, I know there's holes in that theory. You know, back when I made the movie A Bilderberg, Why It Mattered to Me, I was chanting Agenda 21 is Agenda 666. Why was I doing that? I was doing that because I think it's one of the ultimate evils looking at us currently. This is one step in that direction. It's happening exactly the way I said it would. Alex Jones said it would. The Media Speaks said it would. Ron Paul said it would. Justin Amish has warned that it could. Rand Paul, need I go on? I think not. Well, it's happening just like they said. How about tasering a 50-some-year-old man? How about sicking dogs and zapping pregnant women? Now, listen to this. This is insane. Good old PJ Dub, Prison Planet. Bureau of Land Management agents assaulted and arrested two brothers who were protesting on behalf of Nevada cattle rancher Cliven Bundy last night, threatening the men with tasers and detaining them for hours. When does the United Nations, for one thing, get jurisdiction over the United States? When has the rights of a tortoise overridden the rights of man? Where is this in the Constitution? And let's not forget, we have documents that you can look this up. It was also on Prison Planet. They want to build, among other things, solar power panel farms. And they need a certain amount of area that the cattle can't destroy by trampling it. So rather than buy the land off of him or do something that's at least half respectable, and I don't think he wants to sell and he shouldn't have to. It's been in his family for generations. they've just taken his land. Why? Because they want to put solar panels there. It's not up to them to put their freaking solar panels on the middle of somebody else's land. Now we've got militia members going in that direction, and you know what? This might make an enemy, well, I'm already an enemy of the left, doesn't really matter. This might make me even more entrenched. I am on the side of the militia. Now, granted, if they go off firing first, I won't be. And you want to know what? The militia is not going to fire first. If you think that they will, then you have been partially brainwashed, and welcome to the correct views. I will fix you. The BLM claimed Taylor and Spencer Schilling, it says, were trespassing as they walked near a federal holding pen where some of the cattle that the federal agency has seized from Bundy are being held. So now, not only can the feds take your land, but they can take your cattle because they're on the land that they're stealing from you. Welcome to America. Heil Hitler. Spencer Schilling told InfoWars reporter David Knight that his intention was not to interfere with, but to protest the federal operation. He obeyed orders to stop, but was quickly thrown to the ground and handcuffed, sustaining injuries to his head and neck. No warning at all, and I was not being aggressive physically in any way, said Schilling, adding that he was detained for 2 hours before being charged with interfering with an agency function and disorderly conduct and violent behavior. On his own land, get the hell off his land, and he might not be violent, pricks. Tyler Schilling was also arrested while a third brother was not arrested. That's a miracle. The incident, and as a link, followed a confrontation between protesters and BLM officials the day before, during which Bureau of Land Management BLM bowel movement agents assaulted a cancer victim. Yes, I said assaulted a cancer victim. Set a dog on a pregnant woman and tasered Eamon Bundy. To quote Arsenic and Old Lace, cancer does not run through my family, it practically gallops. So yeah, it pisses me off on a personal level. The BLM is currently rounding up Cliven Bundy's cattle to enforce a regulation in order to protect an endangered desert tortoise. Clone the damn thing! After 600,000 acres of public land was reclassified as federal property. Bundy and his supporters assert that the move represents big government gone rogue and have vowed to take a stand. Yesterday, 20 cowboys defied the federal blockade, thank God, to round up 30 head of cattle. They were confronted by BLM agents, but the feds were outnumbered and had to back off. That is why I'm supporting the militia. A ludicrous First Amendment area was set up by BLM, which was completely ignored by protesters. Let me tell you what. You try to tell me where I can practice the First Amendment, and I'll show up there playing death metal, reading the Bible with my middle finger in the air. First Amendment area, my ever-widening ass. Alt Market, Brandon Smith, April 11th. Real Americans are ready to snap. Despite popular belief, every culture of every nation draws a line in the sand, which against government tyranny. The problem is that many draw the line so close to total defeat that it rarely matters. For the Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto, for instance, it wasn't until the Americans were already herded in millions onto railroad cars destined for death camps like Auschwitz and cornered the rest into dilapidated central housing that the ZOB resistance movement was formed, only to be wiped out a month later. What does all that mean? It means that none of the Jews really banded together and fought against Adolf and what he was doing. And let's not forget, Mein Kampf was published prior to his election, so people knew exactly what he believed. It wasn't like they didn't know. They waited so long that there was no chance of them winning, and they got gassed and they died by the millions. Well, this is why. Could this be happening here? I don't know. Is it exactly what was happening before Nazi Germany went from dangerous to murderous? Yes, yes it is. Is it going to happen again? Very likely if we don't do something. It says, perhaps hindsight is 20/20, but clearly too many freedom movements throughout history waited too long to respond to the trespass of oligarchs. Do I think we should start shooting? No. But I think if we don't act really soon, we're going to have no choice but to shoot in self-defense. And I don't want that to happen. Only an idiot would. A civil war isn't cool. It looks cool on the movie. It's only cool if you don't have a brain in your head. The Founding Fathers frequently struggled with the proper measure of resistance. Many colonials wanted vengeance on the British after the Boston Massacre in March of 1770. But patriots knew that the timing was not right. Let's not forget, I should say, that Hitler also tried to take over the government and was arrested and defeated. And while it would have been better if he'd have been defeated the second time, the point is that you can act too soon, but you can also act too late. So what do we need to do? Go ahead and read the article for more on this. It's a very good article. It's very in-depth. But what is it that we actually need to do? We need to realize that the UN does not trump the United States sovereignty. The Swiss are right in this matter. And I'm going to do an article on them, I'm sure, about how they're being bullied for their immigration votes and the fact that the people represent themselves there. You know what? That is a good thing, not a bad thing. And we need to reassert that. Because communism promises a lot, gives a little, and takes away much more. Rewind it, play it again. It's true. And if we keep electing people that are going to give us things free, they are going to take things freely from us, as they have done through all of history. Paul Craig Roberts writes, is the U.S. or the world coming to an end? This is a really good question. This is a really, really good question. 2014 is shaping up as a year of a reckoning for the United States. Two pressures are building on the U.S. dollar. One pressure comes from the Federal Reserve's declining ability to rig the price of gold as Western gold supplies shrivel and market knowledge of the Fed's illegal practice rigging spreads. The evidence that goes on of massive amounts of naked shorts being dumped into paper gold futures market at times of day when trading is thin is unequivocal. It has become obvious that the price of gold is being rigged in future markets in order to protect the dollar's value from quantitative easing. What does that mean? It means we're printing money like crazy people in dunce caps. And to cover it, we're holding down the price of gold. Do I think you should buy gold? Yes. Do I buy gold? I occasionally buy gold and flip it. Yes, I do. Have I lost money? No. The other pressure arises from the Obama regime's foolish threats of sanctions on Russia. Other countries are no longer willing to tolerate Washington's abuse of the world dollar standard. How many of you people listening to this remember when the rest of the world used to really respect the United States? I'm not that old. I do know that when I was growing up, I was a little child hearing about the end of the Vietnam War and the damage that was done to our country. I remember how screwed we were under Jimmy Carter, vividly. We at least were looked up to in the world. And I remember my grandmother telling me that, you know, during the end of World War II, we were all but worshipped as a people. I'm not saying we should be worshipped, but you get my point. We are the most hated people outside of absolute butchers like North Korea, butchers like China. You have to go to countries that force abortions on people to find people more hated than we are. Why is that? Oh, they hate Sam because he dyed his hair red. No, maybe they hate Sam because they think that he wanted his government to bomb them into oblivion. Russia and China have had enough. As I have reported, writes the author, and as Peter Cunning reports here and as a link, Russia and China are disconnecting their international trade from the dollar. Henceforth, Russia will conduct its trade, including the sale of oil and natural gas to Europe in rubles and the currencies of the BRICS partners. What does that mean? Sam put it in English, that's why we tuned in. It means that nations are pulling away from the dollar, and we're printing more and more of it. Now, as they need less of it and we print more of it, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to fall like a rock. What does that mean? It means that you should use what little money you may have and buy whatever gold you can afford to and hold on to it for as long as you possibly can. If you've got creditors after you, don't forget you can buy gold online and no one knows that you own it. Friends, you're listening to The Correct Views, brought to you by the Arcadia Grill. And they're located in downtown Canton, Ohio, and they have some of the best food that you have ever consumed. They also have a bar that knows how to make really good drinks. So do me a favor, go to the Arcadia Grill, let Maria know that Sam sent you, and enjoy some of the best rigatoni you have ever had. Also, check out the work of Mike McLaughlin on Facebook. He writes some of the best fiction extant today. He's got poetry, he's got a vampire novel he's working on. He's got short stories. Let him know you want to purchase some, and he'll give them to you at a phenomenal price. And it'll be some of the best fictional reading you've ever had. Mike McLaughlin on Facebook.com. I got a couple more I want to get to here. Washington's blog, U.S. claims country building its own network to protect against the NSA spying violates trade laws. Our country is trying to tell other nations that if they build their own intelligence infrastructure separate from the United States, that they're breaking trade laws. Aw, that's so sad. Never mind that we broke every possible law imaginable as a government by spying on them. Am I a fan of the EU? No. EU, they suck. However, I can see their point here, can't you? NSA spying is costing the U.S. tech industry tens of billions of dollars, and people around the world are trying to find a non-U.S. company to provide internet, cloud, and computer products and services. There's a couple links in that paragraph. Numerous countries are trying to thwart NSA spying. Many countries are planning to create their own company infrastructures and bypass the U.S. altogether. For example, economic powerhouse Germany is rolling out a system that would keep all data within Germany's national borders. Why? Because our president spied on their president for no reason whatsoever. That's why. The U.S. is trying, it says, to not only protect U.S. businesses, but also keep the NSA's hand in the cookie jar by arguing, wait for it, that closing borders to the NSA would violate trade law. And there's a paragraph listing it. It's a lot of legal speak. Basically, they're telling other countries that if you do this and protect yourselves from our spying eyes, you're breaking trade agreements. Never mind that we have presidents that should be brought up on criminal war charges. The new American German president attacks dangerous Swiss government. This is why I just stuck up for Germany, and I'm just about to give them the one-finger salute. I really am, people. This sickens me to no end. German president attacks dangerous Swiss self-government. So what did they do? What did they do that was so horrible? As outrage grows among European Union bosses over Swiss voters' February decision to curb mass immigration into Switzerland, which is their right, German President Joachim Gauck warned that self-government by the people is dangerous. Switzerland is not a member of the EU, nor would they want to be if they're sane. Only the Ukraine would be dumb enough to do that. But this has not stopped officials in Germany and across the European Union from going into meltdown mode against their independent neighbor and brazenly terrorizing the Swiss with increasingly outrageous threats over their decision to limit immigration. A quarter of their people are now immigrants. You know what? There's nothing wrong with being proud of your own culture and wanting to preserve it against immigration. In the EU, it's Islamics. Now, is it your average Islamist? No, they're wonderful people. Most of them are probably better people than I am. But that's not what you get. I'm in America. I'm part Mexican. The Mexicans we get are ones that sneak in. We don't get the best and the brightest of Mexico. Well, Swiss has finally decided that they've had enough. Why don't we get the best and brightest of Mexico? Because they actually pay them. During an official visit to the liberty-minded and fiercely independent Alpine nation last week, the German jerk head of state blasted the Swiss system, whereby the people can organize elections to override politicians. Oh, God forbid. Speaking of the immigration referendum, Gallup claimed it is dangerous when citizens vote on highly complex issues. It is not completely clear why the German president thought immigration policy could be considered too complex for the Swiss people to make a decision about. Oh, because they're not supposed to be able to think. They're supposed to just listen like sheep. Obama. Especially considering Switzerland's early unparalleled track record of prosperity and freedom. Makes me want to move there. I can see why people are trying to get in. In fact, across Europe, fury over mass immigration and other issues has sparked calls all over the block for Swiss-style national referendums. I stand with the Swiss, and I wish Americans would do it. However, the emerging Brussels-based superstate, like many of its member governments, have become notorious for imposing its will in defiance of the public. Indeed, the entire continent-wide effort to smash all remaining vestiges of national sovereignty and create a federal Europe has been accomplished almost entirely against the will of Swiss citizens. In other words, the Swiss have said no. We don't want any more immigrants in our country. A quarter of our nation is not even Swiss. You know what? They should be allowed to tell me that I can't go, that it's full. I know Obama sucks, Sam, but you can't come, we're full. That is their right. And that is what sovereignty as a nation means. Do I want us to stop bringing in people from Mexico? No, I don't. I want us to make the immigration process easier. I want it to not take somebody's entire, I don't want you to have to buy your way into the country. I want you to say you're going to learn a language. I want you to be able to work when you get here. I don't care whether or not you have a lot of money. We need to quit charging people a lot of money to get into the country and testing their intelligence. And if they're smarter than the average rock, well, good, most of America isn't, maybe we should let them in. The last thing I want to get to today, I'm going to do a little bit more of this. Here you go, YouTube. A little bit more copywritten music since you thought you wanted to mess with me. I'm brought to you by Ministry's New World Order, which I took and put on my show just to piss you off. Steve Watson, TSA harasses a stroke victim, demands mute woman talk to screeners in order to apply. For those of you that don't know, once a month, this show, yours truly, he mails out the Dunce Cap of the Month award. And it goes to whoever the stupidest person is or organization that I find in any story on any given month. I have mailed them to the FBI, I've mailed them to judges, I've mailed them to the EPA for wanting to put radioactive elements into our silverware. I can't even get to all the dumdies on one show, so I go ahead and do the dunce of the day at every show, and here it is. For those of you, maybe Usher or Lady Gaga fans, mute means you can't talk. What kind of security threat is a wheelchair-bound stroke victim who is unable to talk or write? Apparently a big one, if TSA screeners at Los Angeles International Airport are to be believed. Sherry Wright was attempting to fly with her sister to Phoenix recently, but was barred from doing so by TSA agents who set about forcing her mute sister, unable to talk sister, to try to talk in order to clear security lines. Heidi Wright, who suffered a stroke 10 years ago and has been left disabled, is unable to talk to her family. This did not stop TSA screeners from demanding that she say her name in order to board a flight. Screeners insisted on their proviso after stopping the sisters because of an expired driver's license. So, according to ABC, as they report this, if you have an expired driver's license and you're not able to speak, the two are mutually exclusive. Going with what I got by Shahrazad's hat. I showed her ID, her social, and her DMV license papers, Sherry told reporters. He just wanted me to make my sister talk, and I couldn't believe it. I just standing there, tears were coming out. I was like, are you serious? We can't get her to talk. She's unable to speak, Pumpkinhead. Mrs. Wright described the TSA agents as rude and insensitive as they eventually forced these sisters to take an 8-hour bus journey in order to reach their destination. If you can't speak, ride the bus. That's what it says. A third sister in Arizona had already contacted the TSA to alert them that Heidi was due to travel. And we're going to go through LAX and ask if she needed to do anything to ensure the trip went smoothly. She even checked beforehand. The TSA spokesman, liar and or fool, said that the agency has a program in place for disabled people and admitted that the incident was regrettable but couldn't refrain from pinning some blame on the family. Oh, of course not. I think it could have been handled differently by the TSA. And it probably could have been handled differently by the family. And hopefully, moving forward, the family won't have a problem again because they know about the program and they know that we have it in place. What, Nico Melendez? The program that makes mute people speak? What is it, the Jesus Christ program? Because otherwise, I don't know anyone that's been able to do it. The explanation is not good enough for the family. I would hope not. Who have filed an official complaint with the Department of Homeland Security. The TSA has been routinely flagged for harassing disabled travelers, including veterans, and the article goes on to explain it. Friends, as I piss off YouTube one more time with some copywritten music, you are listening to The Correct Views. Sam I. B. DeGangi reporting for The Media Speaks. Check out the work of Kyle, Court, D-Lake, and myself. Please donate to the show if you can, because all money that you give to me goes towards a better show. And as we log off, friends, good night, God bless, and let's crank some music for YouTube, shall we? That's what happens when you make me mad.